Welcome to Chanel Al Rasta. In this video, I'll talk about the story of the second season of the Donghua Soul Land series, episode 240. So, as usual, before we start the story or talk about it, let's review a bit of the previous episode. In the last episode, we saw how the fight between Tang Hao and Golden Crocodile Dolua got worse. In the end, Tang Hao took out the Semaru Hammer, which was the real power of the Hao Tian section. With its strength and force, the big hammer was able to smash the head of the second worshipper. On the other hand, the fifth cult Guangling and Dugubo lost their battle. Emperor Xuebang was almost killed, but luckily, Tang Xiao arrived just in time outside the gate to help save him. But it was too bad that one of Guangling's arrows hit Master Xiaogang and hurt his chest. So, what is the storyline for the 240th episode? Let's go straight to the point. At the beginning of this episode, Sumeru's giant hammer technique strikes Golden Crocodile Dolua, leaving him speechless. At the last second, Golden Crocodile Dolua was lucky that Tang Hao did not kill him right away. But this legendary character just told us his name, saying, "My name is Tang Hao," while his nickname is Hao Tian. Tang San, on the other hand, couldn't help but be dumbfounded after seeing his father beat the Golden Crocodile with a few hammer blows earlier. When this Golden Crocodile heard that legendary name, he couldn't help but make a face. He remembered right away that the person he had just fought was someone from the past who had once beaten Qian Xuanji. At that moment, Tang Hao told him right away, "It looks like you still aren't strong enough to fight me." Well, here's some information. It seems that Tang Hao did not say, "Call Qian Daoliu first with you," even though he says that name in his novel. That makes a bit of a difference. After beating up the Golden Crocodile Dolua, Tang Hao didn't kill him right away. Instead, he called for the entire Tiandu Imperial Army and the Hao Tian sect disciples to rush out of the Jialing fortress. He also wanted to see who would try to follow him. When they saw Tang Hao's true strength, all of the Wuhuan Palace disciple soul masters and the Spirit Empire army troops were speechless and even shook. They couldn't stop the Tiandu Imperial Army from leaving, so they could only clear the way. Just like Tang Hao said, none of them were brave enough to go after him, and even Golden Crocodile, who was the most powerful of them all, had to admit that Tang Hao was very strong. So he thought he was old because his fighting spirit wasn't as strong as his opponents. After the battle inside the fortress, let's look at the battle that took place outside the Jialing fortress, showing Guangling breaking through the formation of the Hao Tian sect by force. And of course, it let the third worshipper know that if Guangling tried to break through, it would be very risky. On the other hand, he was called the fourth worshipper or Xiongshi, and he used the ninth spirit technique, called the soul-destroying scream, to bring a huge beast out of the ground right away. This was done so that they could launch the ultimate attack and break out of Chen Xian and Gu Rong's grasp. After they got away, they went straight to Guangling's position to help him break through Tang Zhao's Hao Tian formation. In this fight, Tang Xiao also showed off a single hammer strike. And, surprisingly, 1 against 3 was the rarest thing, since this was the first time Tang Xiao had used all of his strength to fight Master Dolua of the Spirit Hall. Even though Qing Wan, Xiongshi, and Guangling all used their strongest techniques when they attacked, but Tang Xiao easily stopped all of those attacks by using only formation techniques from the Hao Tian section. Even though this formation technique wasn't weaker than the Semaru Hammer technique, it did require more troops. In fact, what surprised him the most was that Tang Xiao only fought back by blocking a few of their attacks with one hand, and one holding a huge hammer. And even so, the three of them had not been able to stop Hao Tian's twin stars. Together, Hao Tian's formation and the form of the Guardian Spirit Hammer were able to send the three of them crashing into the wall of the Jialing Gate. After that hit, the spirit power of the three of them was no longer enough to fight against Tang Xiao. At the same time, inside the Jialing fortress, it seemed that Tang Hao and the rest of the army behind him had finally broken through, which none of the worshippers were able to stop. By being welcomed by the monster teammates of Shrek, Tang Sen would lead everyone out of Jialing fortress at the same time. On the other hand, the six worshippers looked like they were already hurt, and even they were quiet. And well, they really understand that the Wuhuan Empire has been defeated in this fight. After he met his uncle, Tang Sen immediately let out the light from the sea god's trident that pierced the firmament. He gave a strict order to the whole Tiandu Imperial Mother Army to go back to the camp and rest. The cheers of the entire army of the Tiandu Empire made their hearts tremble and showed how proud they were that the Tiandu Empire had won this battle. In another place, Xie Yu, who had just woken up after Dai Mubai's attack, didn't understand a thing and seemed shocked that he had lost the war. At first, Xiong Shi, who still didn't accept that he had lost, tried to stop them. But it's a shame because Golden Crocodile Dolua said that if you feel strong, you can go after them yourself. Open your eyes to see. How is it that the Jialing Gate is now such a mess? All of the area inside and outside of the Jialing Gate seems to have been destroyed by the Great War. Since the beginning of this war until now, when they entered the gate, there had been a lot of big fights between the two imperial powers. So, Golden Crocodile Dolua told them all to gather the high-ranking generals inside the gate. At the same time, the Angel Army and the rest of the Holy Dragon Army shouldn't rest for the time being. They need to get ready right away to protect the Jialing Gate so that the Tiandu Empire doesn't suddenly attack. After a fierce battle on the battlefield, we move to another scene. This time it has been shown how does the story of Qian Rinxue, who is still taking her 8th exam to get the God's throne, after he broke God's chain and saved his grandfather. This caused the angel god to ask him again. Is it true that he'll quit on this 8th test? In reality, Qian Daoliu didn't want to see his granddaughter give up. But it was a shame that Qian Rinxue loved him so much and didn't hesitate to say that she would stop to let the test go on. But suddenly, it was a shame that Qian Rinxue's split personality or dark side had come back to affect her. Even though he had given up, he still wanted that God position with all his heart. The two feelings he had at the same time made him hesitate for a while. On the other hand, he also wanted to rescue his grandfather. But on the other hand, he also wanted to be God of the angels very much. Because of this, and because he is more determined, his dark side keeps trying to distract him with shadows. Even he couldn't think straight, which made him lose consciousness and keep randomly and blindly slashing all the shadows in front of him. And, at last, in the end, Qian Daoliu still gave himself up. And it was shown how it worked out that the angel god's chain was back on his hands. And the reason stays the same. He really wanted to see his beloved granddaughter take the throne as a god. The scene then moves to the location of Tiandu's imperial camp. Inside the tent, Lu Erlong and Flender, who was still taking care of Master Xiaogang earlier, were hit by an arrow from Guangling. And it turns out that, even though his life has been saved, he has not woken up yet. On the other side of the tent, it shows how all of the bodies are carried out of the city walls on stretchers and taken directly to the camp. At this moment, one of the soldiers is also seen looking for his son, but sadly, his son has died on the battlefield. The rain that fell from the sky seemed to send a message to the whole land that the warriors had not died in vain. Tongsan also heard recently that his teacher had been hurt, but it's not clear what his condition is right now. On the other hand, Gelong finally came back to regret more than anything that he hadn't followed Master Xiaogang's orders. But Gelong wasn't the only one to blame for the mistake. Emperor Xuebeng also made a mistake because he agreed with Gelong's idea at the time. Conditions of war happen everywhere, until the air is filled with war smoke, bodies are strewn all over, and blood floods the ground. Tang Sen knew right away that he would have died if his father and uncle hadn't come in time. If not, the 6 great worships and the elite troops they sent would have killed the whole army of Tiandu. When Tang Sen thought about what had happened before, he also realized that he still wasn't strong enough to destroy the Jialing fortress and beat the Spirit Empire. So, he thought the only way to get the God Throne was to go back to Sea God Island, pass the 8th trial, and get the God Throne. So, that is the review for the 240th episode. I can say that this episode is just as exciting as yesterday's when Tang Hao fought the Golden Crocodile, because it turns out that Tang Zhao's fight was also quite epic. Even if the battle went on, of course, all of those worshippers would be killed. So, for this time's review of the discussion, we'll end it here, with a little spoiler from me. In the next episode, it looks like Tang San will soon become a god. And maybe the story of Soul Land Season 2 will be finished soon, maybe next year. Because after this, Tang San had a big fight in the Jialing Fortress. After that, he would go on to finish his 8th exam. But before he could finish the 8th test on his Sea God Island, he also had to complete a mission, which was to collect soul rings on Martial Soul. There, Tang San would hunt alone in the Sen Luoxing forest in the Star Luo Imperial territory. But before Tang San goes hunting in the Xing Luo forest, his father, Tang Hao, will teach him the Sumuru Hammer technique, a legendary secret technique of the Haotian sect that has been shown before. This Sumuru Hammer technique is a truly unique technique. Even with this technique, Tang Hao's father managed to beat Golden Crocodile Doluo. The Sumuru Hammer technique is another name for this. This was a secret technique that had been passed down through the Haotian sect from one generation to the next. Only one person in each generation could teach it as the successor of the secret technique. Future sect leaders or other golden disciples who can only master this technique are thought to be the key to the Haotian sect succession. Tang San would also be chosen in the end because both Tang Hao and Tang San's uncle, who were both legendary stars, thought his criteria were good. Okay, if you like how I explain things in my video, let's like it and subscribe to my channel so it can grow. See you next my video. Bye.